So we continue with the Surah Al-Qamar, the moon, and the description that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put for what happened and the discussion between the people of Quraysh and the Prophet ﷺ when they asked for evidence, and he brought the evidence of separation of the moon, and they still argued that this is just magic, even though they did ask for it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided that evidence. And then describing how they, on the day of judgment, they will be resurrected and punished. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes groups of people in this surah who also renegated, and that includes Qawm Nuh and Ad and Thamud and Lut and Fir'aun, Musa. All of those groups or people were punished because they disobeyed, and they were given the evidence and the chance, but they still renegated and went against. So we reached to the verse 18. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. كذبت عاد فكيف كان عذابي ونذر. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just said, like we talked about Nuh, now Ad. So Ad were people who are like giants, very big, very strong, and they were disobeying and belying. So كذبت, that means that they were belying their prophet. And those people, their prophet was Hud. So the people of Ad, their prophet was Hud, and then the people of Thamud, their prophet was Salih. So Ad are the giants, as we said, and the prophet Thamud, Hud, I'm sorry, came to them and to guide them, and they just belied him, and their punishment was terrible. إنا أرسلنا عليهم ريحا صرصرا في يوم نحس مستمر. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent strong winds that even though they're huge and giants, it will lift them up in the air and then put them upside down on their heads and break their necks, and then they are stuck there in the earth as if they are palm trees that have died. إِنَّا أَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ رِيحًا صَرْصَرًا. صَرْصَرًا, that means it is with a sound, or it is very cold. The sarsar means either furious with a sound, or that it is very cold. في يوم نحس مستمر. In a day, that means all of that happened in one day. That was of unrelenting misery and suffering. تنزع الناس كأنهم أعجاز نخل منقعر. That it lifts them and snatch them up and into the air and back on the earth like the uprooted palm trees. Their heads are broken and in the earth or the soil, and that's what the people of Ad. فكيف كان عذابي ونذر ولقد يسرنا القرآن للذكر فهل من مدكر. So this is the punishment and this is my warning. And this verse is repeated with every of these stories. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِّرٍ. And we have made this Quran easy to read and understand. So if there is somebody who is mindful. Then the story of Thamud. كَذَّبَتْ ثَمُودٌ بِالنُّذُرِ. That the warning came to the people of Thamud, and the same thing. They belied that. فقالوا أبشرا منا واحدا نتبعه إنا إذا لفي ضلال وسعر. So they said, is it that one of us, of a human, that will come, that we will follow, and then we are misguided and insane? That's really what they're looking down at Saleh, that came to them, and they said, you're not separate from us. You are similar, and you're just a human. So why would we would follow you? And that we will be misguided if we follow you. So ألقي الذكر عليه من بيننا بل هو كذاب أشر. So is it that he was just given this revelation? No, he's a liar, and he's a terrible liar. That's the worst of the liars. And you can see in all of the history, the prophets, when they come, they are accused of being liars, of being magicians, being insane, all of these accusations, so that they would discredit them, to defend their misguidance. سيعلمون غدا من الكذاب الأشر, so that they will know tomorrow who is the liar and the terrible liar. إنا مرسل الناقة فتنة لهم فارتقبهم واصطبر. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, we sent the camel, the female camel, as a test for them, because they asked for a miracle, and they asked for a camel that will bring them milk, and that it is created out of nothing. And the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet Saleh, asked Allah this miracle, and it actually was created and was born out of a big rock, and it became a live camel, and the camel would provide them milk every day for the whole tribes, or for the whole group of Thamud. But there is a test for them, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَنَبِّئُهُمْ أَنَّ الْمَاءَ قِسْمَةٌ بَيْنَهُمْ كُلُّ شُرْبٍ مُحْتَضَرٍ. That means that the water that came through their valley is divided among them. So on one day that they drink the water, the camel does not drink. And on one day that the camel drink, they should not drink. And so it seems like the amount of water was not enough for, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, made this as a fitna, as a test. فَنَادَوْا صَاحِبُهُمْ فَتَعَاطَى فَعَقَرَ. So what did they do? They said, we are going to kill this animal. And they went and asked one of their worst person. صاحبهم is somebody who is a bad person. He's like a troublemaker, or a gangster, or something of that sort. That and he had a name. The name is Qaddar bin Salif. His name is Qaddar bin Salif. So he's the strongest person, and the kind of bad guy, let's call it. And they asked him to go and kill this. So he went with his sword and killed this animal, to finish this division of water, even though they were provided this as a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as a result, the punishment came. فَكَيْفَ كَانَ عَذَابِي وَنُذُرْ. So how then the dreadful was my punishment and warnings? إِنَّا أَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ صَيْحَةً وَاحِدَةً فَكَانُوا كَهَشِيمِ الْمُحْتَضَرِ. That we sent only one blast, or one yell, or one sound that was so strong that they were all like the Hashim is what is when you have straw that is dry and then you break it. That's the Hashim. So they became like nothing. And it is said that Angel Gabriel, Jibreel, made that sound and killed them all. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ, and that we have made this Quran to be remembered, read, and if anybody is mindful. Then the story comes to people of Lot. كَذَّبَتْ قَوْمُ لُوطٍ بِالنُّذُرِ. And again, the people of Lut, the Prophet Lut, they were denying the warning that he was telling them not to do the sins of what is now, unfortunately, in our society, not just acceptable, but promoted. Homosexuality is promoted. And this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying what happened to those people of Lut. إِنَّا أَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ حَاصِبًا إِلَّا آلَ لُوطٍ نَجَّيْنَاهُمْ بِسَحَرٍ. That the angel Gabriel took the village up into one of his wings, up to the skies, and then flipped it while they were stoned. And this is something that all the scriptures actually say how they were punished. And except for the family of Lut, he and his daughters were escaped in the early morning hours before dawn. نعمة من عندنا كذلك نجزي من شكر, that it was a blessing for the Lut that they were rewarded for them being thankful. Of course, the wife of Lut was also turned to stone and died because she was supporting or supportive of the sins in that family. So she also died, and mentioned in the Quran that don't turn back. When you go leave the village, don't turn back. Don't look back. She looked back, and that was her destiny, that she also died. وَقَدْ أَنذَرَهُمْ بَطْشَتَنَا فَتَمَارَوْا بِالنُّذُرِ, that Lut has warned them about the punishment from Allah, and they just disputed these warnings and ignored it. وَلَقَدْ رَاوَدُوهُ عَنْ ضَيْفِهِ فَطَمَسْنَا عَيْنَهُمْ فَذُوقُوا عَذَابِي وَنُذُرِ, that, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describing what happened after that they punished and why they were punished, that even when the angels came in the form of beautiful looking men to give the news to Lut to leave because the village is going to be punished. On that night, when they heard the people, they came and they saw those new visitors, men, and they wanted to, sexually abuse, and he was very upset, Lut. That is in many verses mentioned. He was very upset that the people in his village were wanting to abuse those visitors. And the angels told him, this is again in other verses, we said that the Quran can be interpreted by other verses of the Quran. They assured him that they will not be able to touch them, that they are angels, and that they will be punished. And فَطَمَسْنَا أَعْيُنُهُمْ, it is in the tafsir said that Archangel Gabriel went and they were outside his house and blinded them all with a touch of his wing. فَذُوقُوا عَذَابِي وَنُذُرِ. And then the punishment came afterwards in that early morning. وَلَقَدْ صَبَّحَهُمْ بُكْرَةً عَذَابٌ مُسْتَقِرٌ. And then, so that it was in the early morning of that same night that the punishment came, that is unrelenting. And unrelenting means according to the tafsir, that it is from that time until the day of judgment. They are in constant punishment. فَذُوقُوا عَذَابِ وَنُذُرْ. So taste this punishment and the warnings. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَالْمُدَّكِرِ. So this verse is being repeated, that the Quran is your reference. The Quran is the reminder. So if you are mindful, that means we have to read the Quran to learn from it, not just read it for the sake of reading. And then the last story here is the Ali Fir'aun. وَلَقَدْ جَاءَ الْفِرْعَوْنَ النُّذُرُ. Again, Pharaoh, the nudhr came to him through Musa. He warned him. And كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا كُلَّهَا فَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ أَخْذَ عَزِيزٍ مُقْتَدِرٍ. That they also belied all of the evidence that came and the miracles from Musa to all of the other aspects that happened before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala drowned them all. أَخَذْنَاهُمْ أَخْذَ عَزِيزٍ مُقْتَدِرٍ. So most grip of most powerful grip. They were all drowned. So then this is all the history, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turns back to the people of Quraysh at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. أَكُفَّارُكُمْ خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أُولَٰئِكُمْ أَمْ لَكُمْ بَرَاءَةٌ فِي الزُّبُرِ. So, are your Meccan disbelievers stronger than all of those? Of course not. Or أَمْ لَكُمْ بَرَاءَةٌ فِي الزُّبُرِ, or that you have been granted some kind of amnesty or immunity in scriptures before the Quran. And the answer is also no. أَمْ يَقُولُونَ نَحْنُ جَمِيعٌ مُنْتَصِرٌ. Or do they say that we are so united as a front and we will prevail? سَيَهْزَمُ الْجَمْعُ وَيَوَلُّونَ الدُّبُرَ. No, that you are not as a group, but you will be defeated and forced to flee. And that is what happened to them, the kuffar in Badr. بَلِ السَّاعَةُ مَوْعِدُهُمْ وَالسَّاعَةُ أَدْهَى وَأَمَرُ. That the hour is going to be the time, that is the day of judgment, and that is the most catastrophic and most terrible of that. إِنَّ الْمُجْرِمِينَ فِي ظِلَالٍ وَسُعُرٍ. إِنَّ الْمُجْرِمِينَ فِي ظِلَالٍ. That they are in, as we described before, the Jahannam has shades that is from the fire and from the dark smoke and darkness. So that is what is described here, that they are in this loss, في ظلال وسعر, and fire and blazing, and these misguidance. So the lal can become the word as misguidance, and can be all those shadows of the smoke, as we described in previous verses. يوم يسحبون في النار على وجوههم ذوقوا مس سقر. And if you recall, in Surah Ar-Rahman, the verse says, they will be known from their faces and they will be pulled from their forehead, dragged. Here it is even a more description. They will be dragged on their faces in the fire and told, touch or taste the touch of hell. SubhanAllah, this is, what else? The face is the most sensitive area, and one is dragged on it, on the fire, on their face. That is the ultimate humiliation and the ultimate torture. إِنَّا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَاهُ بِقَدَرٍ. That everything we have created in perfection. وَمَا أَمْرُنَا إِلَّا وَاحِدَةٌ كَلَمْحٍ بِالْبَصَرِ. That when the day of judgment comes, it's like a blink of an eye. And that is why we should be prepared. Any minute, any second, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bring the punishment or bring the day of judgment, because it is just like that. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it happens. We are seeing now and living all of these catastrophes around us, and no one expected expects it or can deal with it even. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there and we should be aware. وَلَقَدْ أَهْلَكْنَا أَشْيَاءَكُمْ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِّرٍ, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminding that all of the stories, the people before you were destroyed. And this is for the people in the kuffar, the message, فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِّرٍ, are you learning from this? وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ فَعَلُوهُ فِي الزُّبُرِ, and everything that they have done is written in the by the angels and documented. وَكُلَّ صَغِيرٍ وَكَبِيرٍ مُسْتَطَرٍ, and everything, big or small, from everything they done is in a line. It is documented precisely. Even things we forgot, good or bad things we did, they're all registered. إِنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ فِي جَنَّاتٍ وَنَهَرٍ, that then, the alternative is that one enters into the heaven and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides this as a reward for those who are the righteous. في مقعد صدق عند مليك مقتدر, that they are in the sovereignty of the most powerful, in where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, that is the ultimate success and goal. So we'll stop here, inshallah.